Now to the wonderful individuals that are sitting in front of you today. We're going to talk about we're going to be doing a high producer panel. We have a couple of different topics that I wanted to run through, but I want to kind of introduce each person. You guys are out of order on the screen, so I'm gonna go through the order on the screen. So Cindy Keathly here in the middle, just joined Copper Creek in the past 2 weeks, week or so. Very excited to have her. Last year, Cindy did over 30 transactions, over 15 million in volume. So far through the first quarter, she's on pace to do almost 25 million. So keep that up, and that was January, February, March, so that's incredible, so congratulations. Miss Lynne Hamilton did 40 plus transactions, over 15 million in volume as well. I've known Lynne, I taught Lynne everything she knows. No, I didn't do that. But I did sit her very first open house with her, so that was really fun. So also the volume and just like we're going to talk about a bunch of things with Lynne about how to set expectations and make your life easier. Lynne does a tremendous amount of volume and doesn't use a TC or anything like that. So we're going to talk about how to leverage and maximize yourself through that. And then Mr. Grayson Warren. So Grayson got his license last February. 18 transactions in his first 12 months. Really cool. How many of those were referrals? None. So Grayson bird dogged and created all 18 of those out of thin air. And I love that. And so anytime someone does that, everyone's mind is just blown. And they're like, how'd you do that? What's the secret? What do you do? We're going to talk about that. And the secret is consistency. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So these are the wonderful individuals we have in front of us. We're going to ask a couple of questions specific to topics that they feel most qualified to speak on. And then we're going to kind of open it up. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited. Okay, I'm gonna start with Grayson because he's closest to me. One thing, when I asked each individual kind of what was their topic they felt most qualified or passionate about to talk about, and Grayson wanted to talk about consistency. And so as you see what he's been able to accomplish in a very short amount of time, it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen naturally. You have to go create it. And so I'm gonna ask what daily habits or ritual has made the biggest impact on your ability to find the deals and close deals?
Yeah, and sitting up here with these two, looking at the stats that you guys have, I feel very underqualified. So, Brett, thanks for having me up here and asking a few questions. So the habit or ritual that as I thought about the question, it's not innovative. It's follow up. Okay, and I think we all do it, but I just think about the first transaction the first listing that I got last year. I called Charles. I called him 22 times, and on the 23rd time he picked up, and we had a great conversation, and got an opportunity to go shake his hand, see him face to face that day. And I actually told him, I said, Mr. Charles, do you know how many times I called you? And of course he didn't know. I said, I called you 23 times. And I said, I hope that shows you just a little bit of my diligence and hard work as to how I'm gonna, try my hardest to get your home sold for the most amount. And of course, I got the listing, we got it sold.
What was Charles? FSBO, Circle?
Mr. Charles was a FSBO. He was a FSBO. And there's another one that I wanted to mention. It's a Nichols Hills. That I have been following up with for a year, and I still don't have the listing, but I'm close. And so I hope that will come this year at some point. I think he's either blocked me or accidentally blocked me a few times, and so I've called from different numbers to get him. But he's good. He's great. Like, he still talks to me. I don't know. Anyways.
Doesn't sound like he has a choice.
That's right. I say, yeah. So finding some workarounds there, but so I just think the money is made in the follow-ups, and the context that I'm coming from, like Brett said, I'm a year in, right? I'm not from Oklahoma City. I didn't have a pre-existing network or sphere, so I started from nothing, and so my answers I think will be much different than these two ladies who are well established and have thriving businesses. So that being said, so follow up, but then within that, just outbound prospecting. I think for me, I want to be doing income producing activities. And an income producing activity for me, if I'm not signing a listing agreement, with the face-to-face with the client, or sitting here at a lunch and learn, talking to you guys, I'm on the phone talking with homeowners. And so I think that's just making a lot of phone calls. That's how I've done it until now, and hope that we'll get some inbound one day, but for now it's exclusively outbound. So that's what I'd say as far as Ridgeville and habits go.
I'm sure anyone out here is probably like me, where when I was brand new calling FSBOs, or not even brand new, as I call agents to try to convince them to join Copper Creek or anything, I'll call them like 2-3 times, and it's like, I don't want to bug them. And it's like, what do I say now? I've already talked to him twice, and 27 follow-ups, and the guy didn't even realize how many times he'd been blown up by Grayson. It's just, it's all about timing. It's all about hitting them when they're available, hitting them when they're motivated, all that kind of stuff. So you can't buy or die, right? Until they buy or die or tell you to buzz off. Keep calling them, because they're busy and they're doing stuff. They're not thinking about you. And so if you think you're going to ruin their day by calling, that's not true. So follow up. Anything to add on that? I love that.
I wanted to ask, how many people here are 3 years or less? Okay, all right.
Just curious.
I just wondered, yeah, because I know Kyle,
Yeah.
I know, some of us have been around. Graham, we've been around for a long time, so, him saying follow up, but it doesn't matter how long. I've been in it for 11 years, and you still have to follow up.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of return
Yeah.
clients now, but a year in, most of your clients, unless they're investors buying more, they're not ready to come back in, because they're going to keep them for a while. But you still have to. Doesn't matter if you're 20 years in, probably. If you don't follow up, you're not gonna.
And even if they're referrals that call you to come list me, you gotta follow up, or they'll meet someone else. I'm gonna have Cindy hold that, and that way maybe both your voices will hit it in the middle. Yeah, I'll just have you hold it. Just hold it normal. It'll pick it up. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Anything that?
Yeah, so I was just going to mention, I was trained a lot the same way. Actually, Graham right there, he was the one who taught me everything I know. But I remember same thing when I first started, when you're very new in the business, none of your friends and families want to use you because you don't know what you're doing. And so you have to create that business yourself. So I remember my very first listing was a for sale by owner, like 500,000 or 600,000, something like that. And every Monday we would have follow-up Monday. So it didn't matter, how many times you talk to them or they'd hang up on you, or basically, like Brett said, until they tell you to F off, then you keep going. But I remember, we were doing it and it wasn't producing much. And then one Monday passed and I was sick or I missed something. And I called the next Monday and one of the clients said, "You didn't call me last Monday." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." But that just shows you that they will, especially as the market has changed in the last couple of years, they will value your consistency and your effort and your hard work, and they know then that will translate to how well you market and sell their house.
Graham, you had a question?
I was just curious how many calls a day you make, Grayson.
Graham asked how many calls Grayson makes per day. He doesn't know.
I can tell you how many calls I made last year.
How do you going?
I made 135,000 calls.
Wow.
I figured people ought to hear that.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Okay, so that dials or conversations?
Dials.
Do you know what your conversations were?
Your rate.
Did I tell you that recently?
I thought you said.
Someone was asking.
Well, no. I may have asked you, but I
Do
don't
you use a
remember.
dialer? You use a dialer?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you use a dialer to hit
Oh,
that
yeah.
number,
I'm not
but
handing
do you know what your contacts, like per week or month are? Per chance?
If I looked it up, I could. I don't know it off the top of my head. So I use RedX. Obviously, we have that as a company. I had that before I joined, so I have my own thing. So it tracks all that for me.
Got it.
But I can pull that up. I got my laptop.
That, and to that point, I love that. Focus on what you can control. You can't control how many people pick up. You can control how many people you call.
Right.
So I love that.
Well, that's just like a
That's a good
daunting
answer.
number to know, like, that's
Yeah.
how you did it,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's like a mountain to climb when you hear it.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, but maybe that's 10 conversations a day. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it feels a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, Miss Cindy. Cindy wanted to talk about overcoming objections and negotiations. or that's what we
That's what I was assigned.
Volin told her to talk about. In your opinion, what makes a successful negotiation?
So I thought about this a lot, and I've actually been through the ringer this week in negotiations. So I had to sit back and think of, okay, what am I going to say that I do that's successful? Because you do something successful one time and the next time it doesn't work, and so you start second guessing yourself. But I think the one thing that agents, especially when you're newer, you don't know what to say, and so you just talk. You talk, and because you're trying to fill space in the uncomfortableness, especially if you don't have an answer. And so I think the biggest point that I would make about negotiations is that you have to stop and listen to your client, and that is so hard for us. But we get all the power and control back if we're losing control of a negotiation, or even when you're talking to another agent about trying to get a deal or negotiating TRRs or whatever. You need to ask the question, an open-ended question, and then sit back and just be quiet, because then the other agent, especially when you're negotiating a deal, will just tell you all kinds of things that they really shouldn't tell you, but will give you information to help you come closer to getting the contract done. So I look at it as two parts, but definitely in any scenario, you need to stop and listen. And I have to catch myself because, sometimes your mind isn't really listening to who's speaking to you, because you're trying to think of, okay, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say that I sound intelligent and that I know what I'm doing? So it's really a practice that you have to do to form the habit of ask a question, stop back and sit back and listen and wait, even if there's silence. Silence is really powerful in a negotiation, because you have the power if you ask the question and then you stop talking. So anyway, that's kind of what I do for negotiating. And then as far as, when you have a client that you're negotiating, or you're trying to get to the next step, or you're trying to resolve an issue, I always take the approach that, hey, I'm on your side. We're not against each other. It's not realtor trying to get the deal closed so I can get paid. You really have to walk alongside their shoes. And has anybody bought a house here in the last year, 2 years personally? No? I'm the only one. And I bought a house last October, and you guys, it really kind of put me in my place a little bit, because I wanted to know everything that was happening every second of the day. I wanted the other agent to answer. I wanted this, I wanted this, I wanted it then. And that's how clients are, and we sometimes get really frustrated with them. But it really put me in my place of, this is how my clients feel, and I need to do a better job of making them feel better and helping them when we're in those negotiating periods feel secure in how I'm handling the transaction.
That's a good reminder, because Evan and I sold our house last year, and it reminded me, moving sucks. I mean, I was like, the whole thing, I was like, wow, I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
So, do you want to add on the negotiation?
I'm taking
part?
notes as you guys are.
I think trying to make both sides feel like they won in negotiations, that's the win. So, like she said, if you can find out what the other side needs, whether they need, we don't want them to stay in the house after closing, but if they need to change the closing date, or if they just want to give closing cost and not do any repairs to try to make it easier on the seller or for the buyer, just find out what everybody needs and then try to help both sides. I always befriend the other realtor. Kyle and I did a deal. I mean, there's very few I hope there's no realtors out there that say in Oklahoma City that they regret working with me. But you just always, everyone's really on the same side, and the whole thing is to get the deal closed. So, negotiations, I guess the best way to do is when everybody goes to the table and they all feel like they got what they needed.
Cindy brought up a good point. Like, we're either negotiating a ton already, or we're around it in the office or in training. It's just normal to us. Clients buy houses every 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years. And so they are just like panicked, nervous, scared. And so best thing you can do is give them permission to slow down. And so I tell this with all my clients initially, is like, my job is to get this to the finish line, and it's really easy for me to spend your money. So if at any point you're uncomfortable or you're scared or you're not sure what's happening, stop me. And because for us, we're just going, we're trying to get it done. For them, they're laying up at night thinking about it. They're wondering what the heck everyone's doing, why they're not texting me back. So giving your clients permission to like stop me doesn't make them feel like they're bothering you, doesn't make them, whatever. So if you can give them that permission, it calms them down a little bit. They know they have that red button to hit if they need it. And because the objection you can't overcome is the one they don't voice. So if they're sitting there just like a powder keg, something's going to send them off eventually and blow the deal up. So give them that option to slow down, to stop, do whatever. And it's always made them less antsy, I felt, during that period.
Let me add one about probably the worst negotiation for me is the TRR. Hate it. Getting the deal, getting the contract, under contract is much easier. So I used to get that TRR if I was the listing agent, and my blood pressure would just like. So I've learned years ago, I read it and then I just put it away, and then I don't even tell the seller that we have it. And then I go back to it later, and that list that looked like it was 3 pages is really just like a quarter of a page.
Great advice.
Yeah, it's still to this day, I don't like doing TRRs, but it's just part of it. So when you're saying slow things down, just slow it down with yourself and kind of think through it. Call another realtor, a friend. You can call me, because I've done lots of them, and just kind of talk through that stuff before you go to your seller, because if you don't know the answers, they're certainly not going to if they haven't sold a house in 5 years or whatever. So kind of just sometimes, one of my mentors was Brandon Baca back at Kivo, and he always said sometimes negotiations need to be slowed down. Like, you don't have to answer in an hour. And I am not one to slow things down. I always want to get it done right then, so I can go on to something else. And sometimes I have to just like put it away. And just kind of, sometimes I need to be calm before I call my seller, because if I'm kind of upset or irritated, that's not going to help them. They're probably going to feel it from me, and then that's going to make them anxious. So time, that's a great answer.
It is your job to be the level-headed third party. Yeah. So if you're panicked over the TRR, do not call your client. They will pick up on that, and you're not problem solving if you're in a nervous or even neutral mindset. You have to be prepared to have conversations like that. Yeah. Lynne wanted to speak on kind of setting expectations with clients, more specifically working with sellers. So, Miss Lynne, what is your favorite strategy for helping sellers emotionally detach from their home so that you can market it effectively?
Probably ask them the right questions, find out why they want to sell. I have a lady right now that wants, I'm the third realtor on this deal to be the listing. She's not worked with the other two, didn't work out, even though I've known her since I was in kindergarten. She picked me third, but that's okay. We'll let that go. So, but she's telling me what she wants all the way through, and then I say, okay, well, this is how the market is right now, and so I have to, but I know what she needs, and she needs to sell it. She's already moved into her other house. Market's gone down, her investments have gone down, her retirement, so she's panicked. So I'm going to work on that panic and keep reminding her of her goal. So somebody's going to sell a house because they need an extra bedroom because they're pregnant and they need that extra bedroom, So you have to find out what the seller needs and then make sure that you keep reminding them that's why we're doing what we're doing. So she's going to be, Evan and I have prayed a lot about this one. I don't know how it's going to work out. I'll let you guys know in 90 days because that's all I get. So, but we'll see. I would probably just say, listen, understand them. And a lot of times my clients will say, I'm sorry I called in, I'm sorry I texted you, but you're a counselor. The whole time, all you're really doing is just helping. But if you like helping people, you'll be really good at this job because that's what we do. So you just kind of have to set the expectation. I don't know if that was another one in today's market. Okay, let me jump to that one. For a seller, I would say be ready to negotiate. You're going to negotiate the price, repairs, and days on market. It's not COVID anymore. You can't just put a sign in your yard and not weed your beds and not clean the bathroom and not touch up paint. if you want to get the most for your house, you're going to have to kind of tell them where the market is, because if people don't do this all the time, they don't know like we know. So just kind of explain. She was like, I'm not going to pay any closing cost if I don't get full price. And she had some old furniture in her house, and I said, we need to get rid of that furniture, we need stage, blah, blah. So far, she's taken everything that I've given her, but she's also, I'm the third one. If I was the first one, she probably wouldn't be so open. So
Yeah.
also
Oh, yeah.
kind of think about that. Like, you can't go in like a bull and tell them exactly how it's going to be. If this is their first time, they might buck you on some of that stuff. But, you know, just kind of go in with kid gloves and, you know, and help them, but kind of figure out exactly why they need to sell, their motivation.
A lot of sellers have their expectation from their uncle who sold a house in 2004, and this is what he did and what he got, and he did this, and so it's our job to educate them on here's what other houses in the neighborhood have done, here's other houses in the area, how long they're sitting, what kind of concessions they've given up. All that stuff's in the MLS. When you run your comps, you can look if the realtors input the data properly. But you can see what kind of concessions are normally being paid, what how much sellers are coming off the price, all that kind of stuff. So it's always better to show people than tell people. And if you have data, it makes it easier because it's not my opinion. I'm just showing you what I'm seeing here. But yeah, they don't know. They think I'm going to list it for this, and I'm going to get 25 offers, and we'll pick the cash one, and we'll move on down the road. And you have to kind of explain what the market really looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for Lynn. When you are working with sellers, let's say that their house is sitting on the market for a little bit longer than maybe even you would have anticipated with pricing and things like that, you're getting positive feedback, just no one's jumping on the house yet. What kind of conversations are you having with sellers, like, as time goes on, to like keep them, you know,
Positive?
understanding the market? Yeah.
Have you seen my listing on Southwest 8? Because this is exactly what
Perfect
we've
example.
been dealing with this.
I'm literally sitting here like, I need to send you one of my listings because this is.
I'll look at it.
Yeah.
Evan and I listed one. They're building a custom house in Surrey with us, and they gave us their house to sell. They did for sale by owner for 2 weeks. They got nothing but realtors calling them, so they said, would you sell it? And we're like, sure. We look at it. Don't ever tell yourself this house is adorable, it's going to sell fast, because that's when it never does. So this house has everything. It's wonderful. I priced it right. I still think I priced it right, but we were getting some showings, and we were just not getting any offers. And even realtors were like, I can't believe this is on the market still. And I said, I know, I don't understand. I still don't know why. We finally got it under contract, worked very hard. But I think with them, I did numbers. So every week I would call them, or usually after the open house on Sunday, because we would do quite a bit of open houses and stuff, and we'd get no one, or we'd get one. I mean, it was crazy. It's middle of Yukon. I mean, I just really to this day don't understand. But I gave them numbers, you know, and said, I still believe in the price that I have, but it's price, timing, and condition. So 2 of those have to match up. So the condition was beautiful. I mean, their house is immaculate. One owner, it's great. Newer roof, all that kind of stuff. Newer HVAC, stuff that every seller's gonna look, or buyer's gonna look for. The price, we can change that. Can't really change the condition, and then the timing, and you can't change your timing. So we waited and waited and waited. We kept adjusting the price, and then we finally, I mean, I called, and I finally got with a friend of mine, and he brought an investor, and thank God the buyer was good with their offer, and we got a great offer for him. An offer that even a homeowner would honestly pay for this house. This investor did, so we were amazed. But I did give him numbers of what's going on in the neighborhood. You know, we had new construction that we were working against, and so I just kept telling him, we're not going to do anything to the house condition-wise, so it has to be price, and then you just have to, you know, pray for the timing that some of those finally work, and then they close on their new house in May, so the timing's perfect because it was getting to the end. So,
I'll just
does that help? Yeah, I'd be happy to look at it and kind of give you some suggestions or whatever.
For sure. That helps. Thank you.
I have a video that I recorded on what to do if your house isn't selling. I think it's pretty good. But she mentioned something. You have to have data. Yeah, and if you
Right.
otherwise you're guessing. You're no better than a member of the public. So showings and offers, is how we read the market. And if we're not getting the showings we want or offers in a certain amount of time, then we have to, there's only two things we can do, price or condition. So either raise the condition or lower the price. And so that's as simple as you can make selling real estate. And so if you have data, you can show it and say, these are our two options. And if the home's perfect, it's price. If you didn't paint the wall I told you to paint the wall I told you to paint. So that, I mean, that's really it. It's just those two things. So like you said.
Yeah, and they stuck with me. I mean, because, you know, I kept telling them, you know, their house is beautiful, and I honestly don't know why, besides these reasons, timing and price and stuff is the only thing we can do. So I did, you know, I kept not puffing them up, but just explained to them, you know, that I'm kind of confused too, because I thought that it would have sold a lot faster than it has, but yeah.
I have a question for Lynne. On your clients, like your listings that are in like new constructive active neighborhoods, how do you change your listing appointment or your conversation with them to help them understand that it's a little bit, I guess it may be a little bit different competing against all these new construction homes with, you know, all these different seller concessions and a little bit of manipulation, you could almost say, as far as pricing, and, you know, do you change your conversation with a new neighborhood versus a more established and less competition with their style homes and those incentives and stuff?
We did sell one in Coeur d'Alene where we used to live that it's almost all new construction, and somebody had to move within a year. So well, first off, they need to give 3% to the buyer's agent. Because if they don't do that, they're shooting themselves in the foot. But
the builder probably is.
A builder's going to, for sure. So you got to kind of have that conversation. But probably, I mean, the positive is they're going to get more per square foot for an older home than they do the new home, right? Because they're going to get a bigger home, the buyer. So I kind of explained that to them, like this one on Southwest 8th. I told them, you know, they're going to get this 1,500 square foot house, where this other new house in the neighborhood is $20,000 more, but it's 1,300 square feet or 1,200 square feet. But some buyers don't care about that, and some buyers want the 2-1 buy down, or they want the closing costs and stuff. So I probably just explained to them the difference between a new one and an existing, and why they can list it at this and why we can't list it at that, because we can if we have enough amenities, you know, if they've added a storm shelter, if they've added, you know, covered patio with roll down shades, or, you know, certain things like that. So like with these buyers on Southwest 8th, they did add a lot of stuff. And so what I do for that is I ask every single thing they've done to their house, and then I put it on an amenities page, so then every buyer can see it, every agent can see it, and why we think this house is almost as good as a new one, because they've added these things that the new one will have. So sometimes if you can kind of show, you have to show the value, and so people don't think you're crazy. But that's, I would say, probably the hardest ones is when you have to compete with new construction especially if the house is only 2 or 3 years old. They're probably going to lose by the time they have to pay both agents and closing costs, title fees and stuff like that.
You sell any house in 2 years, it's going to be upside down.
Yeah.
And new construction sales reps are trained on how to convince people not to buy existing, and they should buy new. So you're competing. It's uphill. You have to let them know. So Grayson's almost entirely seller based. His business, it's all cold outbound to sellers. And so I wanted to kind of extend that same question. If you have a seller who's unrealistic in a price, what do you say, or how can you convince them or show them a realistic value?
Yes, I mean, I think every home will sell at the right price, right? And so I think, the seller is the boss, and I tell them that. And I say, hey, everyone likes to think their home is sitting on oil, okay? Everyone thinks that. I say, hey, we can list your home at $400,000 if you want. We can do that. Here's the range that I think is the proper market value of your home, and we can list it at $400,000. I want to set healthy expectations with you. I think healthy expectations saves lives. So long as we can come back to this conversation, the closer we get to the average days on market for this area, if we're not getting the traction that we need. So the ball's in their court. The expectation is set up front.
Perfect. If we're not getting showings, we'll adjust. If we're not getting offers, we'll adjust. Yeah. Thank you. That's good. Okay. I'm going to jump to Miss Cindy again. How do you avoid, I was talking to an agent about this the other day, how do you avoid showing a buyer 50 houses? Or if you feel a buyer just slowly wanting to see everything every day, always, what's the conversation? How do you reel them back in?
We have all been there, done that, right? When you're first getting into this business, you, at the drop of a hat, you will do whatever. You will go to Chick-fil-A, you will go to Starbucks, you will, whatever they want, you will do. I think as your time becomes more valuable and you learn a little bit more in the business, the first thing I do, which I'm gonna give a shout out to Sydney Hathaway, because she does an amazing buyer consult presentation, and I hope she'll do a training on it. But since all of us should have been doing buyer consults, but maybe we weren't. But now that with all the changes with the NAR and we are being forced to do them, when you sit down with the buyers and they give you their list of wants and needs and have to haves and would be nice to haves, you make notes of that. And the first thing I do is I'll do a little bit of a range. Like, so I'll do a little bit below what they, say is their bottom and a little bit above. And when they send me a bunch of houses, the first thing I'll have them do is I'll say, okay, I need you to do some homework first. I need you to drive by the house. I need you to make sure that you like the neighborhood, you like the neighbors, they don't have crap sitting out in their front yard and you would never move next to them. So that's the first thing. And I've had a couple come back and say, well, can you go with us? If we like it, we want to go see it right then. And I said, well, no, that's part of your homework. And sometimes you have to let them know that you're the expert, you're in control of the processes and the timeline and the way that you look for a new house. If they do drive by, they like it, then you go through the regular processes. I personally, unless they're coming from out of town, I will never show a buyer more than 4 or 5 houses at a time. Just because they all seem to run together. They don't remember the things they love or they hate about the different homes. So also if a buyer is starting to, go crazy and their budget was $250 and they keep sending you ones over $300, I'll have to have a conversation with them. And again, I think the more experience you get, the better that you'll get at these conversations, and just say, hey, remember when we first met, here was your budget. And unless something has changed with your financial situation or you've talked to the lender and you're more comfortable with the payment or something being adjusted, we need to stick to this. And then if we don't find that after, a few weeks or whatever their timeline is of looking, then we can go back to the lender and see if that's a possibility. But I always encourage buyers, there is always going to be a house for you. Like Lynn said, it's just going to be about timing. And it's going to be about me doing my due diligence and me and the buyer working together.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how many times I've gone to a house and the buyers are like, I don't even want to go inside.
Yes.
And so that makes me nervous giving my clients homework, because I'm like, what if they go somewhere else? But you're saving yourself not themselves. You're saving yourself time with that. Yeah.
And now we have a buyer broker agreement, so they can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. There you go. Like that. If you do your paperwork, they can't go anywhere else. That's good.
Even with today, I had a California investor, and he sends me 10. I'm like, I'm not going to look at 10 houses. But what I did, my homework, I got on and I looked at the disclosures. If it's in a floodplain, you're wasting your time. I'm not going to help somebody. Not help, but I'm going to seriously try to steer someone away from buying a house in a floodplain. If it has an old roof, that is like, if it's 15-year-old roof, or I even call the agent sometimes, because if it's usually old, they won't put the age on there. So I call the agent. I also call the agent and say, are they willing to pay my 3%? Some agents won't tell you, but if you know that your buyer does not want to have to help pay your 3%, then it takes to do some of our homework and find out some of those answers for your buyer, because then the buyer can maybe like, okay, we'll take that one off because I don't want that one. Or they're only paying you 1.5. I don't want to pay the other 1.5. Just take that one off. The roof is 12 years old. We don't want it. I don't want to deal with the insurance. Insurance and roofs right now is like a major breaking thing right now. It's kind of scary. So there's a little bit that we can do, but I would say the same thing. Yeah. have them drive by.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll mark half of those off.
Exactly. Well, and another thing is, if you guys are working together as a team, which you should be, you know, if there's some houses that they want to look at, they're having open houses that weekend, you know, let them know that they're welcome to go look at those. But also, you don't just want to be like, all right, go find your own house. So I always call the agent who's listing it is and say, hey, I see you have an open house. I'm working an open house myself, or I have another appointment. They're going to come through. Here are their names. So it gives the other agent an opportunity to know, all right, don't be all sticky on my client, but also they're very interested. So give them a little bit special attention when they walk through the door. Yes.
One thing I noticed, and I told my buyer too, because they're looking at Realtor.com or Zillow or something. Realtor.com has a street view, and so when you look at the pictures of a house, if you click on the street view, they can see the houses around them, they can see the neighborhood. They won't have to drive by. They can look at the
That's a good
pictures,
point.
and it does show the neighborhood. And we caught one that they didn't want to see because they looked at the street view, and nobody had to drive anywhere.
Yeah, good tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard the saying, buyers are liars. They'll tell you they want this and they'll end up buying this. But don't be afraid to push back if they send you a house and say, this is not Piedmont School District. You have a kid in Piedmont School, you know, or whatever it might be, or this doesn't have hardwood floors you said you had to have. Like, push back, let them either reaffirm what they told you or change what they told you. Because if you get to a point where you've shown 10, 12 houses and we don't feel any closer, you need to stop and be like, maybe I missed something. Because normally I show like 10 houses and my clients buy something. So I want to see if I've missed something. Let's talk about this again, and just kind of reel them back in.
Well, and for anyone who doesn't know, Brett has created a buyer toolkit. Have you guys seen it, the buyer toolkit? And in your packet, it has the must-haves and the wants. And so when you get back to must-haves and wants, you're really going to be able to whittle down 50 pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
And then I always say to buyers, guys, after 6 or 7, we don't remember the house anymore. You're exhausted. I'm exhausted. Somebody has to pee. Somebody's hungry. Like, you know, everyone wants a nap at that point. So after 5 or 6, we're done.
Yeah.
So pick your top 5 or 6, rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. Anything under a 5 is a no. If you think it's a 6, 7, or 8, everybody buys an 8. A 10 doesn't exist.
Yeah,
So we're only going to go look at 5, 6, 7, or 8. And we're only going to look at 5 or 6 on Saturday. And by the time we need a Coke, we're done looking at homes. Which ones are those?
Yeah.
And you'd be so, they'll do it. You just have to lead them to it. And if they're like, but I have 20, be like, cool, let's look at your musts and your wish list. We'll do 5 or 6 Saturday. If you don't find one, then we'll revisit the other 14.
I think we can turn that into a cool visual. I don't know how, but I'm picturing like I want to work with you on that. I think that'd be cool. Okay.
That toolkit's cool though. If y'all haven't used it, if you don't have a consult, steal Brett's.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of walks you through the conversations you need to have. It's a good one. Okay, we're going back to Grayson. We're talking about consistency. How do you stay motivated and consistent even on the slow or discouraging days?
There's none of those.
Not for you, apparently.
No, there's plenty. Yeah, I thought about this question. I said this phrase earlier. Healthy expectations saves lives. I think that's true for our clients. I think that's true for ourselves as well. And so I came from a background that was similar to what we do in this industry in a lot of ways. And again, granted, my business may look very different than yours as a newer agent, doing a lot of phone calls. But I have just had the worldview and the paradigm that this is going to be difficult, right? Like I need to make 100 calls to get to a maybe or yes, and be cursed out along the way, right? Like that's what happens. And so the experience of my day-to-day aligns with my expectation. And so it saves me in a lot of ways. And so I don't get angry, I don't get frustrated. It's just like, hey, this is the way this goes when you're building a business. And so I don't know if that's helpful to you guys or not, but it has been helpful to me for year one. So.
Worst thing when I meet agents and they come in just like, I'm trying to sell 50 houses in my first year. It's going to be easy, and I'm going to start building the team next month. And it's like if they don't have that, they think they're going to walk in, post on Facebook, and get a deal. And so expectations is huge. Knowing that it's going to be hard, but I tell I tell people real estate's the hardest way to make $10,000 and the easiest way to make $100,000. And so you get over that hill of like, I feel like I'm just banging my head up against the wall, and then it just tips, and then you're in a routine, you got some momentum, you got some habits built, and it starts to, you make a ton of money one month and you don't feel like you're doing anything. So knowing that it's gonna be hard getting off the ground is big.
I was going to ask Grayson, when you're calling people and the conversation just goes south or not the way you like, are you just like, all right, well, talk to you next Monday? You know, like you just
They never
call
go
them back?
south for me either, right? No. It depends. Like I've had
What
enough.
does it take for someone for you not to call them back, or you just put them on a longer follow-up?
If they get cross with me, I probably won't call them back, or I'll wait.
Let them cool off.
Maybe 2 weeks, so they'll forget about me. But I don't believe. I don't like when they tell me no. I just take that as a not yet. And so I think just again going back to the follow up, it's like until you really tell me to bug off, like I want to keep having conversations with you, and I'm here to help you. Like you have a home you want to sell, I want to help you sell it. Like I want to position myself that way. And so, yeah, it takes quite a bit to get me to stop.
I think you just need to go in the group on Facebook Live one day whenever
I
you're
love that.
doing your calls.
Just
So
record
we can
yourself
still
calling.
watch you.
I can do that if you want to.
I'd
It's
watch
gonna be
that.
very boring. There's a lot of silence in between
Yeah,
the calls.
just silence.
I'm just scrolling on Facebook.
Yeah, until someone answers. I love that.
Grayson reminds
Paige.
me a lot of, do you guys follow Ricky Caruth?
Yeah.
Okay, you
Yeah.
remind me a
Ricky.
lot of Ricky Caruth. He is just like, it doesn't matter. You don't know these. Sometimes cold calling is the best because you don't know them.
Yeah.
You're not going to be embarrassed if it doesn't work out. You know, it's kind of no skin off your back, and that's kind of the attitude I think you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Ricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a good thing. Yeah.
Do you have a question, Paige?
Yeah, so if you're doing that much follow-up, that's something that we've really tried to be focused on in our business. And what is your conversation that you're having? If you're calling that person 22 times, obviously they didn't answer, but are you having the same conversation every week? Like, are you ready yet? Or are you providing value? Or like, what are you saying?
Great question.
Yeah. So I'll just ask how things are going. Like if it's, and it depends on the lead type, right? Like I call everyone. Like if you have a heartbeat, I'm calling you. And so that's for sale by owner, that's for rent by owner, that's expired listings. I call specific neighborhoods. I call land. Like, and every conversation is different.
Yeah.
Depending on the lead type. So I don't know if I can just give you like a one size fits all answer, but I try to build. Like I want to build rapport in every conversation, and I want them to remember me. That's important. And so like I've toyed around with the idea, like actually I had someone tell me, hey, so that I will remember you, tell me the code word Superman. And I'm like, okay.
Write that down.
And I did, and he remembered me, and we're still talking. But I'm like, maybe I should do that. Like maybe I should have some kind of like crazy thing that I
stand out.
Yeah, so that they will actually remember me from the sea of agents calling.
Yeah.
Or whoever's calling. So maybe we can have a separate conversation about those kind of unique lead type conversations.
I like that.
I have a question for you, Grayson. So
Yes.
when you're calling these for sale by owners and you've got somebody that's kind of a maybe, that hasn't committed yet, are you like emailing them information? Are you doing any work at that point to give them, information, data, or are you waiting until they say yes?
If they ask for it, yes, but typically I'll wait until I have a face-to-face with them to bring any kind of material or meaningful. Yeah.
And I just want to touch a little bit on your morale. When, like yesterday, I was having a hard time. I called Sydney, I called Graham, I eventually called Brett. That's the reason that we have this community. And come to the office, call a realtor friend. If you talk to your regular friend, they don't get it. You need to have that relationship with other realtors. It's so important for your own mindset and positivity as much as it is anything else. So that's why it's so cool to get together, get to know different people at different experience levels. Like I wouldn't have a good answer for all of this, but I'd call Grayson, and so that's why it's so important to build the community around you, and so you can keep your spirits and morale lifted when you're having a bad day.
working around people struggling with what you're struggling with, or succeeding in what you're succeeding with, is huge. I credit my first year. I was in a room with 4 or 5 other people in their first year, and we all had a bunch of success. And I credit a ton the fact that we all just sat 2 feet away from each other, doing a tremendous amount of business, all of us, and we were failing more than we were succeeding. But the cool thing is, if you fail 90% of the time, you still make 6 figures in real estate, and so that's very important. So this is a functioning office throughout the week too. I know sometimes I'll walk through it and think it's just storage, but it is. So come in. There's Wi-Fi. There's drinks. Come in and hang out and talk. Set meetings up here with like do whatever. You use this because the more you're around other people, the easier the hard things are. That's why I just. Grayson sitting in his man shed in the backyard, which is where he does his work, right? Is that still the case?
Well, it's a shed that was converted into an office that I call my shoffice.
Oh, my shoffice.
So my wife calls it a shed, but it's a shoffice.
So sitting alone in the shoffice would make me go insane. So more power to you. I would have to be up around people. So, but figure out your thing. But being around others, at least weekly or monthly, that's why we do the happy hours and the agent events and that kind of stuff, because it helps a ton knowing you're not the only one struggling with these things. It's important. So, yeah.
Do you have like a commute from the back door to the office with like a briefcase and
Coffee.
I do.
Kiss the kids goodbye.
That's what I would do too. I would literally be like,
That's what he wears every day.
My sweet 3-year-old, when you ask her where does daddy work, she says the backyard. So.
That's great social media content.
Yeah. Going to work.
That's good Logan Street.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. When you need to do something, do you go out to the backyard, or do you have your laptop in your house? Is it separated?
If I come inside?
Yeah, like if you go to the house, are you allowed to have your work computer?
Yeah, I'll take my laptop.
Okay.
let me call you when I get back to the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. Okay, I'm there.
Yeah. I love it.
That's awesome.
There's a husband and wife team that told this story, and I thought it was, but they have the same thing. They have like a wing of their house, or like a building they built in their backyard where they work, and when they're in the house, they don't talk about real estate. They have something to talk about. They have to go to the house. And I was like, that's not a terrible idea. They're still married, so we're it's like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. That's all I had. Yeah. What's up? Yeah, we got a question. I was going to open it up.
So Grayson,
Yes.
how many days a week do you take calls?
Monday through Friday. Yep.
What do you use Lofty for your lead follow-up?
I keep it all in Red-X, pretty much. Yeah.
Do you use Lofty at all?
I do. I was with a different brokerage previously. I use that CRM a little bit more religiously, but I have moved it all basically to Red-X. Yeah. Elmer.
Do you do any texting for follow-up or just calls?
Great question. I actually wanted to mention this. This was one of the questions that you were going to ask me, maybe. So, for about 10 or 11 months last year, I was very consistent in specific, like drip campaigns, following up on specific lead types, whether it's an expired or a FISBO or whatever. And I would also text an initial text I would use video as well. And I was like, man, this is gonna convert like crazy. And I was very consistent, like everyone, for 10 or 11 months. I didn't get anything from it. Nothing.
Text.
So maybe
Or
it was my
video,
face that they didn't like. I don't know, but so it was KV Core. So they had the BombBomb integration, and so I paid extra for that, and so it would just drop a video that I pre-recorded per lead, or like per lead source.
BombBomb has to go off. It has to go to a website though, right? It
And
doesn't
with
play native in the
No,
text.
yeah, it clicks into the site.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing. So I was really shocked by that. So I'd be curious to hear if anybody's doing anything like that. Let's
I would
see.
say I had a lender that would try that, for a while, and it felt more intrusive when he would text videos to me, and I have to stop in my day and watch the video and see what he was trying to tell me.
So maybe that's what it is that you're
Interesting.
taking more time out of their day. When you actually got somebody on the phone, they actually had that moment to actually talk to you.
It's fair.
So I don't know, it didn't, he stopped doing it because he got the same response. He said people didn't even watch the video.
Yeah.
He was like, I did 10-second hellos, I did 1 minute market updates, and I was like, I'm not stopping and watching this video in my day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just felt a little intrusive. So maybe that's just a psychology thing.
I've gotten feedback on that, like with first time owners. I don't do it, but that they got videos and they just thought it was wild. Like they were just like, I don't know you, like
Yeah.
you know. Like, and I think that that's like very generational too. I mean, you kind of have, you don't know who's on the other end of that necessarily, but that was like a generational gap situation. But I don't. But it's not to say that you're
send
not
them a
impacting
TikTok.
someone. Maybe they're not engaging with you, but
I don't stop to watch videos that people send me because I'm doing 18 million things. If I have to stop and press play, I'm probably not paying attention, or your voice is just going in the background of whatever else I'm doing. If it's a text or a phone call, that gets my attention quicker because I'm like actually. Also, my memory is terrible. So like, if you send me a video, I'm gonna forget what you said the second I'm done watching it. So
you're better
I need
off
to read it.
Yeah, you're better off to do like a generic TikTok and send the link to the TikTok. Someone's more likely
That's what I was.
to watch
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Someone's more likely to
Yeah.
watch your TikTok.
If it comes across as a shared Instagram
I was
reel
going
or
to say, so
Yeah, that's what they
we do that. We've never been like super consistent with it, but we do it in a different way. Like I'm not sending video to just random leads. Maybe sometimes I do, but the video that I'm sending out is more like somebody that maybe I talked to one time. They're
Yeah.
interested in buying a house, or I know they're a first-time home buyer, and we make a lot of videos like that. And I'll say, hey, just checking on you. Also, I
Watch
made this
this
new
video.
video.
Yeah.
If you have any questions about, I know you were interested in earnest money or whatever,
yeah.
something like that. And we've gotten pretty good response from that.
That's like a resource though, not a way of communicating.
Yeah, it's
so.
more just like adding value and
Yeah.
not just like text after text after text.
And there's no way to track your metrics around, because like they get followers, like you just got like 25 new followers in the last like 2 weeks because of these ads that we're doing. And so, and it's all social media based, but I was like, there's no way to necessarily track the metric of like, other than we can track, we did these ads and this is how many leads we got and this is how many appointments. Also that same week, you guys had this additional followers on the videos. It's the only way we're able to track that metric.
Is it Facebook or Instagram?
It's both.
in TikTok.
Well,
So
the ads
are.
But like, so we're like, we don't know yet, like we're tracking it, but
Yeah.
we don't know yet. We probably need another 30, 60, 90 before we're gonna know you went from 25 to this to this to this in relation to the ads that we sent out.
And something new that we've been doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it should tell you.
It'll say blah 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 you from your app. Oh,
Yeah, we're doing a lot of those.
Okay.
And we,
But cumulatively across all of the platforms, we don't know.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But with the video thing or social media, what we found, we took a class on this, is like you have to have some kind of lead magnet. We talked about that. It's like the video by itself just isn't enough anymore. It has to be a good hook and a lead magnet, something of value that they're either signing up to get for free or like we did one with a Google form and we've gotten 56 leads off of it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So like,
So that might be like just like maybe that's
but also
a
it's
social
a,
media video versus like a
Yeah.
one-on-one video.
anyway, I'm just saying, I think video's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of social media? I'm old school. I hate social media. I do. I mean, I do it. I pay somebody to do it because I don't want to do it. But I don't rely on it. Because, not to say that to you guys, because you guys know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. But, I mean, go to the gym, go to church, go wherever. Our kids are grown. We don't have schools anymore that we go to or whatever. But we pick somebody up from the gym just because we talk. So we love to talk. And even though my sister says they don't, everyone likes to talk about real estate. I always say that because everyone has a question. They know you're a realtor, they're going to ask you a question or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything hopefully nothing will ever replace the person-to-person contact. So we don't pay for leads. It's really just getting to know people and being in the business. You get your repeat customers and stuff. But open houses every stinking Sunday. Every Sunday we do them. Don't really like them. I've been doing them for 11 years, but we do them. So this is kind of the old
I want to
stuff.
ask one more question to you two, and then we'll open it up short, kind of a short answer, I think. But so Lynn, tell me, like, what did you do to get all your business when you started, and then kind of where does your business come from now, generally?
Open houses, yeah.
When you started?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did every day. Every day or Sunday. Open houses. I did grow up in Oklahoma, but I moved away for 15 years. So when I came back, I did move back to the Surrey area where I grew up, but nobody knew me as a realtor. That wasn't what I was before I left, but when I came back, that's what I decided to do. So, but I didn't have kids in school or anything. My kids were already grown. Back then I didn't really have a church home or anything, so really just Surrey was kind of like my bread and butter, and it probably still is because I grew up out there. So I found an area, which is, you know, West Oklahoma City, the Yukon area, that I really kind of focused on. And then, of course, I sell everywhere and anywhere now. But probably open house and then just word of mouth. I mean, just, you know.
So now, it started out as open house, now it's referral and open house, like 50-50, or what do you think?
Yeah, we still do. Evan's better at open houses than I am. He picks them up better than I do. Now it's like return.
Okay.
Mostly return customers or clients, or a referral to somebody else, you know, that I'd helped in the past.
Yeah.
So follow up. I do not have a CRM. My CRM is just like, looks like this. It's terrible. I'm gonna try to do one, but because I'm sure I could be a lot better.
We got her
if I
one and then
had one.
accidentally texted one of her clients, and she's like, I'm out.
Yeah, she's like, she sent me a text. I was like, I did? And I didn't even know. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So, but I came to your class and I liked that, you know, the 3 week, I haven't even done it yet.
Yeah,
but
the
the
closing
weekly, the
contact.
month, and then how that, so I want to keep track of that. But I think I can just do it on Excel spreadsheet. Would be way easier for me than that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I would
Okay.
probably just say I would like to work on my CRM to see if I can get even more. But I do an Excel spreadsheet and I say where I get every client. So I have investors, I have a builder. So I want to know how I got the lead, and I wish I did that 11 years ago. I did not do that when I started. I started that like 2 years ago after I've done all this. So I wish I would have known that 11 years ago. So if you're new, track that stuff because it's so, and track who you work with. Like if you work with another agent, I always keep them in my phone. But I wish I would have put like the address that we did the deal with, because now when you're in it, you know, I'm doing one with someone. I just goes, oh, we worked together before, and I was like, oh, we did. But I was like, what house? And she told me, and I forgot. So I wish I would have put the house. But I keep, anytime an agent calls me, I put their name on the phone, in my phone, because then I can say, hey, Cindy, how are you? And they're like, oh, she knows me, whether you really remember or not.
Yeah.
So that's always a good tip.
Cindy, how did you get your business started, and what are you mostly getting your clients from now?
I hate to say it, but it's open house, and nobody really likes them. Me neither. I'd rather be laying out at the pool. But that is the #1 way you will have clients walk in that are looking for a house, even if they're lying and saying they're not. That they're willing to take your information most of the time. I have a really good strategy that Grambo taught me. But it even like, so I kind of stopped doing them during the craziness of the pandemic and all that stuff, and then really 2023 I was like, oh shit, I don't have any more business, so I had to go back to open houses, and it works like a charm. And you just have to know, because if you don't know the proper way to do them or pick up clients, it gets really frustrating because you feel like you're wasting your time. So if you know how to do them properly and really connect with people, then they're totally worth your time. And then I would say now, probably, I'm still doing open houses, but also referrals and my sphere. I have a really good spreadsheet that I'll put on the Facebook web group that we got. That is Excel, and so it's really easy to track, and it breaks down, and it has every month who you should contact, you know, all the referral gifts, like everything. So I'll put that on there, and it is so good. If you don't want like a lofty or KB board or something like that, you got to do something other than pad and paper. Pad and paper.
And I will say that for me, I spend quite a bit of time in here, and everything that everybody has talked about, what Cindy's talked about, her strategy, is what I learned from Brett. And every single thing and every question that has been asked in here is online and is on the website. And we I know, I want to talk to you about it. I think we need to spend some more time maybe letting people know it
It
face
always
to face,
is.
because it is, people ask me about how I have success with FISBOs or with open houses or everything else, and none of it is anything that I came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all learn the same.
The same group, yeah, all the same stuff.
It's all along
Yeah.
Yeah.
every single last piece of it. So
Yeah.
it's
It's a good commercial for our training portal. Thank you, Graham. It's all out there.
It is.
And-
I was
and-
like, the buyer consult's on there.
Yeah, oh yeah, wait a minute. That thing we were talking about. It is, and most of the training out there, we have the long form stuff like this, but most of it's chunked up into topics, like 3 to 7 minute topic video, so you can go watch it and you don't have to go find it in the hour-long training. So I spend a lot of time chopping up, editing, so that people can go find what the topic they want. So yeah, it's all out there. Yeah, I mean, open houses, when you crack the code on open houses, it's like a cheat code. It's just free leads walking in, and they're coming to you and most of the time giving you their information because they think they have to. But if you do good at it, they'll give you real information, and then it's cake. When you crack the code on open houses, it's cake.
Well, and like I said, I was looking for a house last fall, and you guys, there are so many agents that are so terrible at them.
That's why everyone hates them.
You don't even have to be like kind of good. You just have to be like mediocre, and you will be better than the next guy, right? So they're probably going to 3 or 4 or 5 open houses in those 2 hours, and you just have to be the one that's like, mid-level, and you will pick them up.
Yeah.
And there's a whole strategy around open houses, picking the right one that's gonna fit
Yeah.
your business, what you want out of your, but don't just go to a random one for random reasons, like be very strategic about it.
Yep.
I'm sure there's a video on.
There's
our
a video.
online portal.
There's a video out there. It's a really good one.
It's a good one. Yeah.
It's me. Yeah. We're over. We're done. Any questions? If not, we'll hang out and chat and talk. But any other good questions for anyone? Laura, any questions?
Can you build a shed outside?
No, I can't. Actually, you want to help me build it? Okay, Grayson's gonna help me build it. Real funny, babe. Oh yeah, that's my wife. Everyone look at her. She'll get real embarrassed. Elena, what?
I have a question. So you were talking about buyers. I think Lynne wasn't particular about BBAs. And how do you hold conversations about percentage? Could you please kind of elaborate on that and say, remember when you said 1.5 and I talked to you about 3. How do you handle all these conversations? Can you just give us tips?
How do you talk about the 3%?
A beep on your BBA when you.
Yeah, I can talk about it. So you have to be really careful, and now you kind of have to practice until it's second nature. But honestly, it kind of depends on the situation. I used to say, I'm never going to discount myself, blah, blah, blah. Well, it depends on if you need to pay your mortgage the next couple months or not. But I mean, I have found that the more experience that I have and the more that I can relay that to the buyers or sellers for that matter, they're going to understand why I'm charging what I'm charging. So my conversation always with the seller is, in fact, I have one coming up, and I reduced it for the first time that I sold their house, and so they're like, you're gonna do the same thing, right? I said, well, actually, now I come with a staging service and I do a video, and then the thing that really gets them though is I say, I'm gonna stick to my percentage. If you wanna find a realtor that lessens their compensation, how do you think that they're gonna handle negotiations? And so that really is something I've been even doing in the last 6 months. And even with buyers, just say, this is the amount that I charge. You may find a buyer's agent who doesn't charge that much, but I'm not sure of the services they're providing you, but here is what I will provide, and I know how to negotiate, so I'm gonna stick to what my charge is.
Okay, so but do you give them options? Like you have option to do this or you have option to do that? Like how would you come up with another half of your commission? That's why my question is specifically. Like, 1.5, where do I get it? If I'm first time home buyer.
Like, yeah, so there's kind of two. There's a verbal conversation you have with them, and then there's the paperwork you have to do with them, and you have to kind of explain the paperwork because it kind of contradicts what you say a lot sometimes. But because of the lawsuit, we're required to do paperwork. It has to have certain language, has to say certain things, has to have certain disclosures, and so that's why we created 2 different agreements. One is a tour only agreement, You don't owe me any money. We're just building rapport together. I just want to provide value for you, and if you like me in the future, you can use me. And so that might be the conversation that we need to work with, is like, how do I just get them in the door? Because once I get them in the door and they work with me, they're going to sign whatever I ask them to, hopefully. So we have that touring agreement to get them in the door. And then once we find a home we love, we have a different agreement with different services that go beyond just showing houses. And that's where we talk about our fee as well. So it's kind of two conversations when you're talking about capturing business. If you're talking about a referral client, you can have that whole conversation up front. But if you're talking about capturing business off a sign call or open house, something like that, it's two conversations. It's first, let me help you for free because I want to provide value. You don't owe me anything. I just want to build rapport, learn what you're looking for, educate you, and then we'll go into the second piece, which is when you find the home, let's talk about what services you need then. So it's kind of two conversations, and then there's also the paperwork that comes along with it